Good. Thank you.
Wait till it starts on. All right. We're live. Good evening. This is a meeting, a facilities committee meeting of the Council Rock School District. My name is Mike Thorwart. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves and we'll get started. Yeah, go ahead.
Denise Brooks, School Board.
Matt Pedersen, IT Director.
Ed Salomon, School Board. Andy Block, School Board.
Ed Tate, School Board.
Mary Ann McKee, School Board.
Colin Teach, Dewey Engineering.
Joe Hidalgo, School Board.
Doug Taylor, Board of Operations.
All right, Doug, take it away.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go over the capital improvement plan tonight. This is the 8th distribution of the plan since its inception. We'll go over that. Some facilities, some miscellaneous items. Facility use fees follow-up, we're going to postpone because Pauline Borgia is out under the weather. We're going to wait till she's back. We can afford to wait because these won't be implemented until next year. We just want to get this done early enough so we can get ample notice that all the users, so anyone that's impacted by it has time to adjust. So next month is the joint facility FACCOM meeting, so or FinCom meeting. So we'll do this piece in December. Some consent of board agenda items and draft schedule. So we'll get right into the book. This is the, what is the book? I think you guys all know the book pretty well. There's really no one from the community here, but if anyone is watching, briefly touch base on the book. It's just a physical condition assessment of the buildings. Each year it's dynamic, it's updated annually, and it will reflect what's happening in the district at this time. Of course, even now, I'll start marking that book up and make changes as we move forward to next year. It establishes a long-range plan. I mean, the book is really an attempt to try to avoid, spikes in cost to the district. Surprises. If we eliminate those surprises, we can hopefully eliminate the need for emergency projects and costs that the board doesn't want to see. The benefits, as I said, the conditions assessment minimizes the surprises that we just touched on, and it gives us an organized book to plan the work the plan. It also takes a lot of the subjectivity out of it. If there's parents that are interested in soccer, if there's parents that are interested in something different, it takes all of that away. It provides you with a clear path. It's based on impact education primarily, and domino effect, and I'll go over that shortly. How do we get all the information? There's questionnaires that go out every year, so all of my maintenance team gets those questionnaires. All the principals get those questionnaires. They provide information back to me. I collect it. I review it. I also walk the buildings, and at the end, come up with a comprehensive list to update what's in. So it's based on some of the following. There's very few costs in the book that are under $10,000. Those are usually maintenance items that we address with our operating budget. Unless there are items like a floor that's problematic, not just in one area, but in multiple classrooms. And when aggregated, they equal 10 grand or more. And that's something that would be in the book. Otherwise, small areas wouldn't be included in the program. So the logic matrices are in there, again, to reduce the subjectivity and to provide a good functional tool to address the need for you. The executive summary is in the front. There is tab 2, the logic matrix, the priority indexing, the factors that affect the priorities. I'll go over these things. The logic matrix, as I said, impact to safety and educational impact are the two most heavily weighted items in the logic matrix. It also has domino effect, economic impact, age, and original life expectancy. Every item in here is run through those categories, and a score is assigned based on running through it.
Where's legal, for lack of a better call, or code?
I'm sorry?
Where's code stand? Does that fall under safety?
Yes. Yep. And again, sometimes there could be buildings that aren't necessarily ADA accessible by today's standards, but they were when they were built. And they would probably be a low priority until we get to the point where we're going to renovate the building and address those things. However, if at some point someone comes into the building that necessitates, a change in the facility, then obviously that priority goes from low to high. So that's what happens with the book, depending on how the buildings are used or what the conditions are, it's subject to change. So as I said, they're all run through this matrix, safety, educational impact, the whole list is along the top, 0 through 5. Take a look at each one of these descriptions, run each item through it, and at the end, there's a score. I do all of the scoring, all of the reviewing, so for better or worse, it's very consistent based on my evaluation of what we're seeing. You couldn't really have multiple people putting these scores in because it wouldn't be a consistent recording of what's going on.
Not just know, you don't hide your scores either, so they're
Well, the
available.
scores are all in here for everyone to see, and we can certainly talk about those. Tabs 3 through 23 are basically a little bit about the buildings. We show the history of the construction, the building size, the site size, the energy source. There's a floor plan, a site plan. In the high schools, we have a site plan that logs in and keys in all of the athletic fields and courts, which is helpful that when we reference those in the plan for repairs or work, we can reference the specific field, and then you know exactly where you're looking in the book. This year, the costs have been increased slightly higher than they have in previous years. There's usually a 4% increase in the cost in the book, but because of the construction industry, this year we reflect a 5% increase in the projects across the board. And there is information in your book that further substantiates the need to do that. Over the last 2 years, the increase is greater than 4%, but it reflected 4% each of those years. So this year I did bump it to 5%, not the 4%. It's probably slightly behind because they didn't do it the last 2. So there's no compounded percentage. And this is an example of what the page looks like for a school. This is one page from Churchill Elementary School. There's an ID, so you know it's Churchill. It lists what the description, what the need is, the safety, educational impact, all the items that we talked about. How it was scored, what the final score is in terms of prioritization, what the construction cost is, and then there's a category if you want to organize these by category or whatnot. So you can see there's a couple 6s and 5s. You really should see in the book 8, 9, and 10 because it's something that urgent and probably have already come to you, so we really have to address this now. The only reason it might bump to that is if we said, hey, this project really needs to be considered, and we artificially put it at an 8 just to push it to the top. And then this is, the last was listing by school, and then there's listing by priority. So here you can see these are 8, and as you go down through the book by priority, it's 8 all the way down to 1. And as I said, the only reason you see an 8 is if we're artificially moving it to the top. These are the tennis courts, the basketball courts, and a study of stormwater for North, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Tab 26, I think, to me, is the meat of the book in terms of telling a story. This is where we show a little bit of the history of the building. We have an estimated renovation cost versus per square foot cost. We have a building replacement cost estimate and some other numbers that are important. I can talk about that in just a minute. The other increase that we'll see this year, total renovation per square foot cost has increased from 180 to 185 because we're seeing numbers that are higher in terms of renovations than we have the last several years. Right now, the industry is so flooded with work. I mean, we're talking about major $90 million high school projects, $50-some million, $60 million middle school projects. Contractors are being choosy with what they did. It's not a market right now where they all come after a job. You're calling people, asking them to come out, please show interest in your project. So it's one of those where it's, at the top of the plate for contractors. And eventually the economy will go the other way and they'll be begging for work, and then the bid numbers will reflect something different. But right now, we have to be in this range. The other thing to notice on this chart that I'm going to show is if we compare a capital project to total renovations and the number reaches the 60% range, that's when we need to consider total renovations versus addressing the needs of summer projects. And I think you're going to see that this matches what we're doing with our facilities improvement planning perfectly. You can see, for example, north, it gives a little history, 370,000 square feet, when it was built, when it was renovated, when the knob was added to the building. The renovations at $185 a square foot would be around $90 million if you were to do that today. The replacement of the building is $275, about $132 million to replace that school at that size. The capital projects that were identified at North, plus a 30% fee to contingency, are about $8.7 million. There's a little bit of a basic number left in here. We're not certain if any was left behind when they renovated. It's about 10%. So clearly that's a building where we're just going to go through, plug away summer projects and not worry about something bigger. Then you get to the former Richboro Middle School. The history is here. We're at about 145% when you look at renovations versus the capital improvement project. Once you get to 60, you can consider total renovation. Here you probably think about, this building is very tired, and I don't really want to do much with it. Hillcrest, however, built in '89, that was 1963. That was built in '89. It's at 146%, but we know that the building shell is in good shape. We know that the design of Hillcrest is such that the corridors are the adequate width. The classrooms are around that 850 square foot mark. It's a building that doesn't necessitate major partition changes. It's one where we can go in, change the infrastructure, put some paint, do some other minor work, replace the windows, and we're going to have a building that will sustain itself for another 25 to 30 years. So that's one that makes sense. But it is telling you that it needs work. The other two that tell you are Newtown Elementary School and Richboro Elementary School. So Finestone's been removed because we know we're working on it. Rolling Hills, also Wrightstown has just been done. And a lot of these Churchvilles at 4%, Goodnoes at 1%. So you can see the middle schools are at 0. We're in very good shape across the board, except the buildings that are already part of our plan. And this is just some of the items in the book. You'll see it. Tab 27 has a couple of schedules in it. It has a Gantt schedule for the timelines for the master planning, and it also has timelines for a facility improvement plan as reviewed with the board in April. So the first is kind of that master plan, that October discussion that we've talked about happening each year, where we know that we'll do a master planning review in October, so that happens. At the top, developing district storage options. We looked and we were able to use, for the longest time, LSAC. Then we were reducing the square footage to save money, so we had to vacate LSAC. We put a lot of our stuff at the bus garage in Newtown. However, that wasn't enough. Through the KDK agreement, we actually got some square footage space, which they provide for us in Warminster at the Access Security Building, which is conditioned space. It's about 10,000 square feet. And we have that through the agreement through the end of June. But at the end of June, we're going to have a building full of good stuff and no place to go with it unless, we'll talk more about the KDK agreement later if that's something we're going to consider down the road or not. But if not, we have to look to either lease the space on our own or find a way to find district storage, because it's just necessary in a district of our size to have some warehouse space to put our belongings. We'll put the mowers there in the winter, we bring the snow blowers and everything out, so we kind of exchange things. All of the cameras and things that come out of the buildings are stored there. They're still functional, good equipment. So if schools need it, we go over, we pick up what they need, we distribute it to the schools. It's a really good space. And then
Mr. Chairman, may I? KDK, you said Warminster, which puzzles me, not Newtown Township.
We looked, so KDK owed us storage space, and I actually went over to KDK with Anthony Tabassa, a really good guy. He walked me through his entire facility. There was no good space anywhere for us to put our things. And it's also federally restricted, pharmaceutical property.
FDA.
You can't simply get in and out of that property.
That, I remember hearing that before. Yeah.
So he said, if we can find space elsewhere, I'll work with someone outside of our building and I'll pay for the space and you guys use the space. So, we could find nothing in Newtown area, but we did have this space, over in Warminster that's heated, it's cold, it's lit, it's Access Security, it's the company that does all our security, it has cameras, it's very safe. And, it's a good space, and they're working directly with KDK on that front, so.
Thank you.
You have a question?
How much is the rent versus the value of the stuff I'm storing?
Well, right now it's free, so it's easy.
What's gonna happen after that? If you don't,
Well-
we're not gonna pay for it then?
We're gonna have to find a place. We're gonna have to find a place to rent. It's around $5,000 to $6,000 a month, in that range.
And what's the value of the stuff?
Much higher.
I know just the for cameras we pulled out of right now cost way more.
Right, so right now, there's like 20 of those sitting in there, plus,
So we don't have space in our district anywhere?
we used to use the LSAT.
Okay.
So at any rate, this has all the other projects on it and gives you a history. You can take a look at it and see what's going on. Then the next set are all of the facility improvement projects, the Wrightstown, Rolling Hills, Chief Sloan, which is now the Star Center, Stolpine, Seven Hillcrest, Ridgeboro. And Newtown's listed on here, but that is to be determined. That's the one building that we pulled back out because of the funding at the time. So that shows you those. Then the rest are just kind of the history of the buildings. We have a roof report in the book. Every roof in the district, by roof area is identified. It tells you the area. It shows you when it was installed, who the manufacturer was, the roof height, who the installer was, the warranty date, the length of the warranty, and the condition, the deck, and insulation. So it gives you a history. And then you can see by roof area as identified on the sheet, and it's very helpful. And as I update the book every year, I refer to the roof areas and we identify any roof projects. As a part of that, we update it as well. Summary of completed projects is tab 29. This is just every summer, we list the projects, the scope, the budget, where we finished. And most importantly, we have a list of contractors, their contact information, any kind of warranty information. So at any given time, if it goes back 5 years, you can go to this page, find the project, find out who did it, and we have the history there. So it's a good piece in the book. There's some of the building components, which is municipal helpful information, a summary of the chillers, the boilers, the elevators. There's an asphalt paving section by parking lot, by internal drive, how old they are, when they need to be considered. So again, that works into then preparing what work needs to happen in the book. Tab 31 is the list of improvement projects, budgets, and non-renewal projects. So most of these are renewal, like things that we need, preventative maintenance kind of work. Non-renewal would be, like we had the turf project in here for a while, we had some other things, the bleachers. The one item we're still carrying in here as a non-renewal is the internal drive at South that is adjacent to where we're putting the turf field. And this piece is added. We know that we're master planning for a stadium for the project, but we're only building the field, an area for 200 bleachers. The township specifically asked us to come in and show what it would be if we were to put a stadium, so that down the road, if a board decided to do something more, the approval's already in place. The district will be able to basically put the project out to bid and not have to worry about going back to the land development. This just kind of shows the 3,000 feet and the rest of the cost to go in, estimated cost to complete that project. And that'll just be carried each year, and we'll put the inflation on it, so you always have an idea of what that costs moving down the line. These are just, this is a picture of that. This is south. This is where the proposed field is going to go. These are the tennis and basketball courts that we need to consider for a project. And this is that drive. If the buses drop off and they loop back around, this is the drive that at some point could be considered with the control through the gate and used for maybe graduations, for any big events that you have. So you have another means of getting out of the site other than Rockaway.
And that's already approved.
PennDOT has approved this connection, so that was approved when the project was approved. This would take it from that area in and complete. We designed all of this so that if this happens, it fits within that footprint.
How about in the top right corner, the white shaded circle? Yeah.
Here?
And then going down.
Here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just part of the Google thing.
It's an artifact of Google.
Yeah, it's an artifact.
It's not no plan, it's an artifact of Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doug, I know I asked you before, what would it cost again for the purposes of folks at home to add that road into?
That is about $260,000 because it involves stormwater management and things as well. So it's not just paving and saying we're done. It's getting curbs in, putting some stormwater collection, tying into stormwater. So it's in that range.
Thank you.
I think if you ever went back and said you'd like to consider, making this a stadium, it'd be the right time to complete all of it. I think, if you had a big event at night, you'd have a couple ways to get people in and out. So the actual plan, what we want to talk about now for this coming summer, we already know that we have the turf replacement at Walt Snyder Stadium, the track at Walt Snyder Stadium. Those were items that we said when we approved those, that they would be applied to this year's capital project. So that's not money coming from somewhere else. It wasn't through the bond, that was through capital projects. So those are a given. There's other projects here that are smaller that I think need to be considered. We have some cars that head north are driving up to the fields to access the fields. I'd like to put some guardrail in and just take that out of the... Yeah, I just don't even want the temptation. The coaches, I've asked them to talk to the kids about not doing it. It's only going to take...
Where are you talking about putting this?
Back behind the Nana's Appointment North, I actually have a picture I can show you.
Oh, I was thinking you were putting it back behind the parking lot behind the stadium, because they'll drive right on there and start the fields.
I don't think you can, well, this would keep you from going behind it to get to those, because right now you can't do the fence. You're talking at north.
Talking north, soccer fields.
The turf field?
The soccer.
Down at the bottom. Yeah, well,
You can drive right off that.
they
got videos of kids doing that.
I haven't had an issue with that as far as student athletes driving out there to take your stuff out.
Oh, okay, that's just what I was.
This has been more of not a vandalism issue as much as it is.
Got it.
We're driving our hats and our bags and all our stuff up, and we're going to park and do batting practice, or we're going to do football.
Got it.
I get it if it's a control issue with the coach taking things up, but the other makes me nervous, So that's something I wanted to consider. We know we have a stormwater backup issue at North. It's been that way since the building was renovated. When we get heavy rain, there's a bilge pump in the boiler room that pumps water back out because the system can't handle the influx of water that it takes. In addition, the head is so great it comes out the second floor drain and floods areas of the building. It's a mess. We want to do some camera work. We want to develop a plan to alleviate that pressure in the building and get rid of this problem. Every time it happens, it's bringing in, fans and dehumidifiers and water extractors and all those things to fix the issue. You have to worry about environmental concerns. We bring in consultants and do air testing. We just have to get rid of that issue. The biggest thing that was added was the tennis courts and basketball courts, which we talked about previously, and then just a handful of little intercom head-end systems at a couple schools. Even though some of these are slated for work later, we should make sure that we have good functioning communication systems in this building.
These are what's tied to the security system, the cameras.
Well, these are tied in just the ability to communicate to the speakers in the building, but we want to be able to communicate. Yeah. So if you look at the total of those, construction is about 3.1 total, about 4.2 million. You move to the next year, I'm not going to go through every project in detail. Considerations of, hey, what if we were to try to go after the deferred projects so we can then start looking at every summer project as preventative maintenance and finally get ahead of this, that we've been trying to catch up on. So We'll talk more about that next month. They'll be more prepared to talk about that at that time. But you can see it's 4.27, 4.7, 5.2, 4.1. And the red are the projects that have been deferred. So the number of the deferred projects each year is 645, 1.2, 3.1. It just continues to grow, and every time we say, well, if we don't have 4.2, we can get you 3.5 and 750 that goes to the next year. It's just going to continue to be a challenge, and we need to maintain the things we have. That's what I'm worried about more than anything. So this will show you. You have this in your book in the back. It's tab 31. You can look at it in greater detail. So this is just looking at the 5-year plan by year, what the work would be, total estimated construction costs, the soft costs, the total project costs, and the deferred. You can see we're right around $6 million of deferred work, which I think is important when we look at this a little later. How do I arrive at how much money we should be considering for these summer projects? APA has a formula, and APA is the Association of Physical Plant Administrators. They work closely with the Department of Education. They are a well-recognized association. They're also the Association for the Cleaning Standards and all those other things. They're recommending 2 to 4% of the replacement value, and I'll show you that their formula is basically 2 to 4%. If the capital renewal is 1.5 to 2.5%, routine maintenance is 0.5 to 1.5. You just apply the formula to where we are, and they're saying at 2 to 4%, we should be putting away 7.8 to 15.6. Now, this is an organization, and a lot of organizations make recommendations that are at the high end of where you should be for their own reasons. So, while I respect what they're saying, and I don't disagree, their formula is those ranges based upon our square footage times $200 at 2 to 4% minimally. So instead, I recommend the same numbers, but 1 to 2% minimally. So we'll cut their numbers in half. Even if you cut it in half, we're looking at 3.9 to 7.8 annually. And I think what I'm suggesting is 4 to 4.5 to keep us in a good place down the road. So this is just a lot of information about the importance of avoiding deferred costs. And we want to develop plans to address the paving, the sidewalks, the roads, the finishes, the field repairs, all the things that we need to be mindful of. Why we want to avoid deferred costs. There are formulas that suggest for every dollar of deferred cost, $2 to $4, per square foot later to fix it. But the more the things are allowed to get tired, the more they contribute to other pieces getting tired, and then the bigger picture is more work. So. And the domino effect is something that's factored in when I look at, formulas for replacement or repair. So that's considered. I just thought this was an interesting slide. Now, when you look at the 5 years worth of project in totality, at $25 million, 5-year estimated cost on average, including the deferred work, is about 5.1 annually. If you look at the deferred cost, and you took that out, you're about deferred work is about 1.2 of deferred work annually. So the $6 million is about 1.2 annually. The 5-year estimated cost when you take the deferred work out is about 3.9, which is the very bottom end of what I'm saying we should be considering. So those numbers actually align perfectly. The 3.9, so the 3.9 to 7.8 is very close to this, and as I said, I think the 4 to 4.5, they're recommending that for construction. They're not including soft costs, so I'm saying, boost it a bit, some of the soft costs can be offset, and that's, I think a good place for us to be. I totally understand the financial challenges. I'm just suggesting my concern and what we should try to do. So these are some of the pictures of the summer projects for this coming summer that I was talking about, the tennis courts, the basketball courts. We know we're replacing the synthetic turf in north. That is the turf in north, actually.
Really?
Yeah, you can see the rubber crumbs are really sitting all over the top at this point. The G-Max rating is harder to achieve, it's just, it's really beaten down surface. It's truly time. When these started going in, they guessed that it would be about 10 years life of these carpets, and it really is about 10 to 11 years.
This is 11, right?
This will be almost 12 when we replace it, so it's definitely, we got our, there's windows at north, these are just a couple samples, or at south rather. We want to go through and do a package of window panel replacements,
The glazing failed?
yeah, the seal that's in the window fails, and then it lets moisture in, and it condensates, and that's what you get.
It's not going to be on site, it's not very efficient.
No, although the archive of the windows is like 2.
Yeah, that's true.
It might be. It's not
Never
really
mind.
So, this is where we have, students that are accessing fields, to get to north. I want to put up like a wood timber fence kind of around this area with a gated entry, for controlled access, just to protect, it could be any time, there could be kids playing here that aren't in high school, student drives up, I just hate to see something happen.
There's some steep slopes there, that's, could be potentially dangerous,
How far would that go?
It would go from the tennis courts, and then up to where it gets very steep at the top. Most cars are going to try to drive up that steeper. If you're driving up the steeper hill, you have different intentions. You can get up.
Yeah.
And something that we had to continue with later, we certainly could have that option.
You might want to look at just, you get a lot of foot traffic back from the skate park.
Yeah.
11th graders who are parked up there. So you might want to make sure that,
We could put some.
it's safe or whatever, whatever it is, it's, they're not supposed to be parked up there.
Right.
I get that piece, but the reality is they do. So if the fence, I assume the gate controlled access, so we could get a vehicle or a mower up there or something?
This isn't a big fence, it's just a timber guardrail. So
Got it.
it feels friendly, it doesn't feel
Okay.
ugly.
All right, so it's not going to improve.
We can put some gaps up too.
Yeah, I could put some little gaps so people walking, at different areas have the ability to not.
And I'm not sure exactly what that path looks like,
We actually put some of the similar fences south along the one softball field, if you ever get on, off of Rockaway to the softball field. Because the bleachers were so close to the road, I was worried about the kids, we put some guardrails. Anyway, the schedule, this book was distributed tonight, and you have that, and take some time to look through it. I'll be back November 7th with Bill, and we'll talk more about the budget and all the other considerations of the budget. I would hope that at the November 14 meeting, to get approval of a budget, not necessarily a list of projects, but just say, hey, you can go ahead and start documenting up to this amount. Obviously, we're not spending the money at that point. We would be working them, doing a team to document and go out to bid. And then around January, I come back to you and say, hey, here's the bids for this project, and that's when we would approve the actual work that we're spending the bigger part of the money on. That allows us then from January to June to procure the materials that we need so that when students leave in June, we're ready to hit the ground running. If you wait too long, you can't get materials, and these projects don't finish in time. So that's it with the capital project. Is there anything else on that before I move on? I'm trying to go as quickly as I can.
Board questions on this? It's become kind of routine.
I love this book, though.
Yeah.
I reference it all the time.
Thank you. There's a cover letter in the front that gives you the total overview of what I just said.
Don't take lack of questions,
Yeah.
lack of authority. We've been through it so many times, we don't even need to tell.
I have
It's so bad.
I don't even look for the sake of people that are listening.
I have a serious suggestion. I would submit this for an award, like, with a professional association, I would assume that it's
I would think this is atypical.
atypical.
Yeah.
That's what we're,
Yeah.
Can they do this over at MBIT?
This is the challenge for me, because I know I'm involved with NBIT, and I actually share the book with them and show them what we do, and being involved makes me want to just do it, dive in and do it, but it would be like 80 hours of work to just go look at the buildings and begin to prepare, I just don't know.
I'm not asking you to, but I'm saying it's good practice.
But it has to be the right, I don't want to sound, it has to be the right person that has the history and knowledge of building components and I'm fortunate enough to have been involved with, a firm where we did a lot of building forensic studies and failures. If you do enough small projects and study failures, you start to learn, what not to do. Not everybody has that history, so it's, and then I was with an architectural firm for 19 years, so I kind of have a good blend of all of it. I'm fortunate in that regard. So we're working on Rolling Hills, Common View. I will say that the key milestone right now is getting that thing watertight. They started the roof today, which is good news. It's been converted to a lightweight concrete roof, insulated concrete roof, instead of what we were going to do, because we found a lot of the existing concrete roof had depressions in it, some up to 4 inches. Not structural failures, just when they poured the concrete, it wasn't a flat surface. So a new roof would have just been full tight, telegraphed to it. We would have had drainage challenges. So we switched to an insulated lightweight roof where they put a slurry of concrete down. They set insulation in it in a pyramidal form. We have a 4-way slope to roof drains, and it's going to be a very good, well-functioning roof. And in about 8 days, we'll have all of that down, ready for the roofer to come in and put his roofing product on top. So we will meet the milestone, and if we don't, Colin will be back and beat him up.
We're gonna have the concrete, the slabs all done tomorrow?
Like 4 slabs? No.
Oh, okay.
No, we're close.
Okay.
Yeah, we're close. I mean, we're not,
Listen, I know those things, yes.
The key, there's a lot of different milestones you put in there for different reasons, and they're kind of a judgment to see where you're at. The real key ones are the roof that's, if you get the roof on in time, that means you can work, it's watertight, you can work all through the winter.
You get the walls all buttoned up.
Right, you can keep
we
the
get the
building
roof
at that
and
point.
exterior skin on and plastic over the openings, and these guys can go to town. And without that,
We got problems.
it's no joke, we're in trouble.
Mhm.
So that has to happen, it's still not an option.
It's amazing to drive by there every single day.
But
Like,
it's-
this project is absolutely noticeable.
Yeah, they're doing really well out there. It's a challenging project that I don't think we ever gutted a building like this. It is a complete, it is.
It's well worth it. So we needed to make sure that our money stretched across the district for other projects. And that's been my goal as we did these. People said, why didn't you tear Holland Middle School down? Why didn't you build over? Why didn't you tear this down? Well, between those two projects, by keeping the shell, we probably saved $8 to $10 million on those two projects, which is half of the next project, which is why we need to be mindful of that. Newtown Middle absolutely had to go. That was a different kind of building. These others, we learned from Holland Elementary School that had the same construction type as this, that you could convert that building to be successful. And I know that we did, and I believe that we should do it here, and it's going to be a really nice building when it's done. Getting there is not fun, but we'll be good.
We're almost out of the woods.
This is the back of the existing gymnasium that becomes the stage addition. The existing stage has been removed, so the inside of that space is much longer and feels more. This is that area we captured in the back underneath. This was all exposed to the exterior. These were skylights, there were planter boxes, and the exterior wall was along these columns. We captured all of this, and now all of this, the length of this will be classrooms with exterior windows. So it was found space under a roof that was already in place, other than filling in the skylight. And you can see we're starting to fill in the exterior, we get plastic on these, and we're all set for the winter. The temporary heat will be in good shape. This is the new entrance. This is where the nebula used to be, over in this area. If you go in the office over here, that's all been removed. This is all new, and you'll see that there'll be a very clear visual element of where you enter this building when it's done.
That canopy extends out.
And the admin offices are here, so they're out more forward, and they can get a good view of what's happening at the building.
Well, there'll be windows too.
This is a way that we control the quality of a building. We're very mindful. This is a sample panel that goes in. We actually ask for this wall construction, the flashing details, the materials that we're using, and this will serve as the level of quality that we'll expect as they put these finishes in. When the windows come, we'll put the window systems in. We'll ask them to put those in, shim them, caulk them, and we'll continue to use this as our standard. And this is where we found that very large underground tank. It was emptied of all the water. It was filled with a slurry similar to this, and the slurry continued over top so that we protected the sanitary pipe that runs through. So we are in good shape and minimize the impact to us.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm getting this from the community, and I don't know if this is rumors or not. But I'm hearing that people are getting onto that site, like at night and stuff. Are you finding that, or?
Not when I'm there. I mean, it's gated, it's locked at night. I mean.
It is gated?
It is gated, yeah. The whole
I mean,
thing
it's
is enclosed.
completely,
Oh,
have I
yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Because like people have been asking me like, why isn't there a security guard there? And I'm like, because you can't access it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody could, the gates, I would say, keep good people out. If somebody wants to jump a gate, they.
Okay, so, but there,
It
you're
is
not
gated,
seeing any
yes.
evidence of
No.
anything
No.
vandalized or any issues? Okay.
No, as soon as we can lock the building on the inside, it
Yeah.
gets locked. A lot of times we make both temporary doors just so that happens. There's a lot of times we're putting in drywall and stuff, and last thing you want is a group of kids to go in there and start smashing drywall up. So.
We've been knocked on wood, we're very fortunate in all the buildings we've done here, and I don't want to jinx myself, but the kids here have been very respectful,
Yeah,
very good.
A lot of times when people come with those kinds of comments, it's not necessarily, like, it could be a whisper down the lane or something.
Yeah.
So I wasn't 100% sure.
To answer your question, we're doing everything you could possibly do to keep people out at night, so.
That's what I thought. Thanks for saying it.
Yeah, I mean, and on weekends, if somebody sees gates open, I get calls, they say the gates are open, and
I live down the road.
They come to fix the gate.
I'm usually the last one
Haven't
to
had that
do
here
that,
at all.
I make sure it's locked.
So Soul Limestone is moving along, we're developing, building, site paving, conducting second end user meetings. We actually conducted those on October 2nd, we went back to the school, the architect was there, we had sketches. We met with the teachers again and took another look at their spaces. September 25th, we had a planning commission meeting with Upper Makefield Township. The concern, anytime you meet, you want to know what is the big concern. The concern we heard from that meeting was the extent of Eagle Road improvement. So they had interest in us widening the road across the whole front of the site, which would certainly add significant cost for our project. We would relocate about 8,000 poles, which would be a very big cost. So we're respectful of one, but ultimately PennDOT will decide what we do to that road. I don't know that they're going to warrant a decel and acceleration lanes across the front of it.
Let's say PennDOT says it has to be done. That
Then we
doesn't,
have to.
then we have to do it as opposed to negotiating something with Upper Makefield?
Yep, it's hard.
Because we're.
Yeah. Yeah. So PennDOT doesn't usually want to get a road any wider than it needs to be for several, multiple reasons. They also don't like signals, and then people say PennDOT will put a signal, and they don't put a lot of traffic signals unless they have to. We're moving the entrance, the entrance lane, PennDOT will be very happy with that. We have a submission in, we're waiting to meet with PennDOT. As soon as we do, I'll give you an update on that. But that's the, otherwise, they are very happy, they were very good with what we're proposing, and they received it well. So,
You think we're all in there?
yes,
Even Tierney?
I think so. Yeah. This is just the plan again, so you guys, give you a refresher on what's happening. Off the end of the multi-purpose room, that's the existing entrance, is the expansion of the kitchen. A student entry off the end for a new bus drop. This is a two-story classroom addition. So the lower level will have classrooms and classrooms in this area, so it'll be more substantial, lower level with an elevator. And an alternate to put a stage off the gym, which would allow us to increase the size of this cafeteria by removing the stage. If we can't afford to build this stage instead, and we'll just have the number of seatings that John currently has for lunch. If we were to build this, he could reduce the number of lunchtime seatings that he has today. So it won't hurt us, it'll just make things better if we can build this. And then off the back, this is the long driveway. We're putting a more substantial canopy and an ADA accessible ramp into the gym in the back, so that in the evening, if you're coming to the gym and coming from outside, it can be accessed by, people with ADA requirements. And here's a couple renderings. This is the existing cafeteria. The kitchen is right around here, so this is an expansion of the kitchen. This would be the new student entry in the morning as they're dropped off at the bus lane, which is a new lane. And a couple of planners, yes, they're nice and they're fun, but they're also providing a retaining wall to the next layer down behind it where the building services will be. So now the loading dock will be hidden. You're not driving up looking at trash containers in the loading dock.
No, is this Rolling Hills or is that so?
I was just gonna
That's
say,
all mine.
do yourself a favor.
Yeah, just Rolling Hills.
Before you put it on the,
Oh,
on the
yeah,
web.
sorry.
Just changing for the,
Yeah,
This is
it's
all
all limestone, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, that's fine.
And then this is that two-story classroom wing along the back, where the lower level ties into the lower level on this side, and the upper level ties into the upper level of the existing school, an alternate for an outdoor kind of learning space, as soon as you consider over here, and then the playground is still off to the right. So, a real nice.
Make any changes to the existing front door?
Existing, we'll replace windows and doors, but otherwise,
So that'll still be an entrance?
yes, that'll be the parent drop off. The other will be buses.
Joe's got one.
How many classrooms, because it's two-story?
So the net gain is 5 classrooms. That was the goal, to build 5 additional classrooms. You're going to see in addition, I think this was like 12 or 13 classrooms, but primarily because there were classrooms inside that were around 700 square feet, 600 square feet. They were substandard classrooms. So when we took walls out to make those appropriately sized, we displaced a couple classrooms. So we're building them as part of this. The benefit is we're not using money for modulars. We're using it towards new classrooms, and this will be our modular. Essentially, this will be our temporary classroom space. So we'll use these 12 rooms to move kids out of the existing building, and then begin to work our way through the building by those shuffling spaces.
Because
That's phase one.
That's value engineering in a big way.
that is phase one.
Okay.
This is, because they won't fit Richboro Middle. It's too many.
No, they would not. You'd have to put modules in Richboro Middle if you were to meet these. And logistically, it would be.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
So the Star Center, we had a final design meeting with the architect as far as the design development, and with Chuck and his team, and everybody is very happy with the final design. On the 2nd of October, we had a planning commission meeting with the township. The concerns that were raised that evening, that were with substance was a buffer along the property line, a sidewalk along the street, and we did provide those, but they wanted something a little more fun, something more soft, and not just a straight line of sidewalk. It's easily accomplished. I'm not going to argue over easy stuff. So, and the impact of the fields is something that they brought up. We brought up that we're improving some fields south, so we're only really losing one field at the end of the day when we finish it all.
I also pointed out that we're here to educate children, not provide recreational facilities to the township, so I think we've got that as well.
So, we have, looking for, Act 34 resolution approval to advertise the hearing. So, the board approval of that Act 34, notice would be next week. We'd advertise the hearing the next day, and it'd be advertised for the required 20 days plus. And then the hearing would be November 14th in the boardroom at 6 o'clock. That's usually just a formality. We don't really see many come to those. We're still working on the turf fields. We are looking at turf manufacturers and developing bid strategies. We're looking at field turf, A-turf, Sprint turf, and Shaw, all quality companies. We'll get them all to provide us numbers, and we'll pick the product based on pricing, because they're all very good. And these are the sites, they're all 2.5 inch, they're very heavy quality products. We are going to separate the bids because of the tighter timelines in North. We need to make sure that we get somebody on board, get the product ordered, so that when we're finished our graduation ceremonies and we move the chairs, right after the chairs come out, the turf comes off. So So we're looking at getting that project done in the summer. So that one's important. And October 2nd, we had that meeting, and the concern we heard there was, again, buffer planning. I'm talking more for south than north on this one, and site, the height of the light, and we'll have a hearing on that as well.
Sorry, I thought we were gonna pair the bids.
We did want to try to bid those together to see if there'd be any kind of value in doing that, but the problem is, if we bid them together, with the approvals required at south, it's going to stretch it out longer.
Are we missing out on a big potential
I don't
cost
think so,
savings?
because you're mobilizing at two separate locations.
Yeah.
You're doing the work concurrently, and
Not
maybe
like-
the guy that gets north may have some advantage in bidding the next one, because he already knows he got the job, so he's gonna, put a better number, and maybe we'll get a better deal.
Okay.
Or-
Okay,
I think there's still an opportunity for at least the one bidder that
Yeah.
got the job.
great.
We'll see. But the risk is we won't finish the
Yeah.
work, and that's too big of a
I
risk.
mean,
Got it.
Doug is right with the graduation chairs come out.
Yeah.
The
No, I-
excavators will be behind.
We may have to take the chairs with you.
I just felt compelled to ask, but yeah, I mean, there's 9 of us, we can move a lot of chairs in
Yeah.
a short time.
I'm just kidding.
As long as they're not too hot.
Well, we gotta get the south though, for the next.
Oh, that's right.
Well, those
Well, maybe it'll rain.
So we're going to advertise the north turf in October and go out to bid in November and have a pre-bid in December and award that in December. So north is moving quickly. That will allow them with an award in January to get the products ready so that when they do mobilize, they can deliver the products and go to town. We're going to, with the approval process, we're going to be, you can see this is October, we're not until February. And we wouldn't be awarding this until April, starting construction in April, it would be too late for North. It's really that's North Natatorium seating is essentially done, the township reviewed it, approved it, as of today, it's 100%. This was the spectator area, this was kind of a progress photo, but you can see it's much improved. We have the railings, which we didn't have before, we have wider stairs, we don't have the step up and down along the front. Here were the stairs, they were narrow, they had differing tread dimensions. Here, when you came to the front door, you step down, go across, up, down, up, down. The railings were open, if the little guy was crawling along here, there was a risk of going down the stair tower. So now, we have the railing that protects anybody from falling, we have wider stairs with the railing in the middle.
Uniform tread.
We have uniform treads across the front, uniform treads and no steps up and down. This has been changed to dark gray all the way up the steps, there's a line, so that is a consistent color of the steps as well. We hadn't changed that. This is a master list of land development meetings for the project. So you have all these in your calendar, but at a glance, they're all here as well. I can issue this document if you'd like. They will continue to change. I'll give it to you, but just know.
Every time you change it, send it to them. I think I could use that. It's
Yeah.
useful as a reminder, that matrix. It's okay to keep sending it to us.
Miscellaneous,
That would be easy to manage the calendar.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I said, sending that sheet out every time it updates, it's just easier for me to try to manage.
Yeah, because all of us calendar invite.
Christine will be
happy.
I'm gonna continue to do it because now I think that's where they live, and
I like the
I,
end.
some people use that.
I'm not saying don't do it, but, the change.
The UCs we're gonna defer to December, so I'm not ignoring these, we're just gonna move past it. And,
Can we?
I feel like I missed an MDIT slide. It's, I need to talk.
So going back to fees, the facility use fees, does it make sense to have an offline conversation, before then, just about what our strategy will be with Caruso? Because we probably want to.
Yeah, I don't think this is
I mean,
specific
I
to-
wanted to do all that stuff first,
Right.
just to give us a benchmark, but we might want to have a conversation just to.
We can, I think that's definitely separate from what we're talking about, as far as some other agreements, there's a long-term agreements, but we can.
Well, yeah, I just want to see,
Okay.
I want some of that to inform what we do, at the same time as I don't want to wait so long where we have,
an agreement
Yeah, we
well in advance.
can, well, let's get together, we can get Pauline on the phone and have some.
And they've already asked me questions about
Okay.
the scoreboard and, you know, different naming.
Well, we're bidding the scoreboard as an offering, you know, as an offering, we'll know the value if they want to pay for it. I want to touch on NBIT because I was asked at the last board meeting, the 2 board meetings ago, to be involved in what's happening there, and I'm trying to be cautious and respectful because I know it's somebody else's facilities world. But I did meet in September with the other 3 sending districts. We did review the capital needs assessment. The list appears to be reasonable based upon report that we had, the visual observations, and the presentation provided by MDIT. The capital needs assessment they showed us included 10% contingency. I did ask at the time, you know, where are the soft costs? Is that all you have for soft costs? Or they didn't really understand that piece so much. They said, well, you tell us, we don't do this much. I said, well, based on the budget, not knowing a lot about the budget, I'd say that 10% should be kind of more of a budgeting and a percentage increase over the 5 years of your plan. And you should have a 20 to 25% for your professional fees, for your construction permits, for unforeseen, for all those things that I don't, you know, somebody's managing things. So, the bad news is that increases the budget by, you know, 1.3 to 1.6 million. But I don't think you want to learn that after they start and then have another meeting if they need more money. So, I think that's something that needs to be considered. When I looked at this, there weren't drawings of the welding fab or the main entrance. Since then, some of that information has become available as Reynolds was involved and did some work for them. The welding fabrication addition, the number is much different than it was the very first time I saw it. It was 100-some thousand, and I was very worried. The last time they did increase the cost per square foot to something like $450 to $500. I still think it's slightly low. You're bringing a contractor in this bidding climate that everybody's picking what they want. You're going to have to beg somebody to bid the job. If you get 3 bidders, you're going to be very fortunate to come in. It's a 1,300 square foot addition. You have to pay all the costs to mobilize and get people there, and administrative costs as you would if it were a $10 million project. You're still paying that cost as the cost. So I think it's, you know, $500-600 a square foot. I think the number's in the range, but it's just a small addition. It's very difficult to get because of the scale, a real efficient number. The main entrance, I will say, based on my observation, is a nice to have, not need to have addition. They already have an addition, an entrance off the side that has a secure entry, and the offices off the side of it. If there had to be anything, it would be a low-cost canopy off the side that would bring you into that site so you knew where to go at a far lesser cost than what they're considering for blasting out a piece of the middle of the building and doing other work. And I asked Robert to set up another meeting with them and me because they're coming to the joint meeting next month. And in fairness, I don't want to say anything at that meeting with them here that I wouldn't have said to them up front. We're meeting Monday with the group again. I'll share my thoughts with them so that I'm not saying anything out of school when I'm with them. I just think, I owe that to them. So that follow-up meeting is Monday, and we'll further review these costs, the welding shop, the main entrance, and they'll be here on November 7th to present whatever it is they will present.
I just had a question, so the square footage is still $500 versus the $185 that we...
So the 185 is renovation,
Yes.
275-ish for new construction, but because this is only 1,350 square feet,
It's like building a house.
it's like building
A small.
you're going to tear the side off the building, you're going to put foundations in, you're going to put steel up, you're going to, that's prevailing wage rate, but it's going to be much greater because there's just no efficiency.
And if you got a small contractor to do it,
Well, if you do, you still have to pay prevailing wage.
which is $2-something per square foot.
It's going to be higher, they have to pay the,
There's a certain rate, so there's different type of labor classes. So an electrician might make $80 an hour compared to a labor might make like 40. And whatever county you're in or district, you have to pay whatever the district, that district's rate is. So down here, it's a little more expensive than if it was like,
I worked in Bethlehem, we were paying electricians like $80 a square foot, or $80 an hour here, and like across the street, it was like 55. Like, two sides of the street was right where the zone, this was crazy, and that's just the way it is. Quickly, the Act 34 resolution is on the board agenda for your approval. That's just approving us to advertise the hearing. There are change orders to close out Wright Town Elementary School. When we consider all of the final costs, we had an add to the GC, a total of $95,000, credits back from everyone else. So the net add on Wright Town to the contract is $31,000, like less than 0.25% of the total contract amount. We still have $1 million in contingencies. We're well ahead of the budget that we presented, so we're going to be returning money to good shape. And this $95,000 includes value-added work. There were motorized shades added, some additional sidewalk replacement, movable student cubicles for jackets for the rooms that have dividers, so they have flexibility, backboards in the hallways. There were other things. So it was a very good, successful project. We have one for Rolling Hills at this point. Our environmental contractor is done. We're getting a credit of $13,000 for unused allowances. They used about $10,000 based on quantities for additional floor tile and pipe fittings. So they own a certain amount. If you find more, you pay per fitting, per square foot. So we still are ahead there with getting that money back. And North Stage Church replacement project, north-south, is done. And we have the allowance for that is being returned. And lastly, upcoming meetings, November 7th, the joint FinCom FACCOM, we'll talk about the projects with Bill. The 14th is the hearing. The 5th is the rescheduled meeting with Salt Limestone Planning Commission, so we'll be going back on December 5th for that meeting. It was planned for Thanksgiving Eve, which wasn't going to work, so they shifted it to the 5th, which pushes my facilities meeting to the next Thursday. That was on the 5th. We have to flip those. And then on January 9th, we'll bring the results back from North. And on the 23rd of January, we'll be the hearing for Sulphate. So just a couple of important meetings to be aware of, and that is it. I apologize.
Sorry. Any other board comment here?
So I have one quick question. Rolling Hills, are they getting a sign?
We own a sign. We actually own a digital sign at Rolling Hills. It'll be our first digital sign. The township was happy for us to put a digital sign in that in an emergency, they would use that sign to post what an Amber Alert or something. They could use that as well. So that is something we're going to have.
Oh, how progressive. They used to be so resistant to that.
The building's going to be with the poorest performing from an energy standpoint, the most behind building to the most advanced, highest performing building in the district. It's going to be 50% solar. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be.
Quick question, I heard from someone that it looks like the Wrightstown sign when it went in got beat up a little bit.
You got what?
Got beat up a little.
It looked like on one edge where the dark little paint was there to be chipped.
Just wanted to mention
I
it.
think they want their own sign back.
I'll stop over there.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.